So does anyone not have their sheet, question sheet, chapter 1? And does anyone not have a book? Is everybody warm enough, or do we need to? No, we're not. No, we're not opening the doors. No, we're not going to open the doors. We're not turning the fan on. All right. So, now, thank you, Anthony. So the answer to the first question is not technically in the book, but it's on the slide deck that you have. So you remember I gave out. Who didn't get a copy of this? All right. Oh, you didn't get no pack. Norris, you're a student, so. Yeah. Oh, Jaron. Door's open. Norris said he's on his way. All right, so the answer to the first one is in the slide deck. It wasn't in the book, and there was someone who really made a big stink about the fact that it wasn't in the book. Well, you didn't have to do that, but I gave it to you. So, gave it what I was looking for. So, the answer to the question, define the word teacher taught, is simply what? To give instruction, and then taught what can be taught. So, and that's important. The Greek word didaskalo, everyone should strive to want to engage in teaching. We began this study by Acts chapter 1 and verse number 1. Luke recorded, these are the things, all of which Jesus began both to teach, do, and teach. Right, okay. All right. Number 2. What are the 6 items of the invitation of Jesus from John chapter 7 and verse 37? And again, this is in the book and it's also on the slide deck. So who wants to take the first one? All right, contingency, the word if. So, that's the word of contingency. Jesus emphasized this, all right? What's number 2? All right, yes, universality, and that is, Jerry, anyone. So, if anyone. So, here, with regard to the invitation of the Lord, so the contingency statement is if. The universality, anyone. All right, number 3. Yes, satiation of need, which was thirst. If anyone thirsts, and so the person comes to understand what their desire is. They are thirsting. All right, number 4. Recognition of volition. And what's the recognition of volition? Let him come. So the individual realizes that they have a responsibility to come to God. Jesus says, if a person thirsts, let him come. So that's a recognition of volition. Number 5. The source of relief. Come unto me, to Christ, the Savior. And number 6, the remedy. And drink. Drink or learn. So the thrust here is and drink. One of the things that, and you might say, okay, what's all this about? As a teacher, and this is one of the reasons that this is important. One of the things that in every, whether it's in every teaching scenario, whether it's one-on-one, whether it's a group setting, preaching, one of the things that every teacher is doing is, you are directing your learners to a conclusion, and you want them then to do something. Anybody can impart information. Teaching is not necessarily the impartation of information. You don't have to. Anybody can get up and read a document. That's impartation of information. You can teach a child, I want you to learn the script, get up there and read in front of the class what's on the piece of paper. Reading is not necessarily teaching. In teaching, you are also driving or leading the individuals to do the doing of something. Well, desiring to learn, that has to be there, yeah. But so we can't drive you can't necessarily, let me now put this. Everyone has the potential to learn. Everyone has the potential to learn. And your brain. Well, no. So I chose a different word purposely. And what was the word I chose? Potential to learn. Not everyone has a desire to learn. It's just like not everyone has the desire to do the Lord's will, but everyone has the potential. So every accountable person has the potential or the propensity, bigger word, to do it. Now, the desire to want to do it has to be brought about. So with regards to learning God's will, one of the things that God has to help man understand why there needs to be a desire is because they're in a very precarious spot. And what's the precarious spot that all men are in? Sin. But if not everyone knows they're in sin. They have to be taught that they're in sin. So, and then taught, here's the remedy to sin. It's just like if a person doesn't know that there's something wrong internally with them physically, they're just going through life, man, everything's fine. And yet something is really wrong inside. They can't see it. They go to the doctor, and the doctor says, we're going to do some blood work and just do a regular checkup. And then they say, Mr. Patient, Mrs. Patient, we need to take a picture of what's inside of you. Yeah, well, so yeah, that's I'm not going to. Well, no, yeah. So there will be a section where we will talk about God's will. So there's a number of components about the will of God. There's God's determined will. There's God's permitted will. So God never forces anyone to do what he wants people to do. So remember Peter says, it is not God's will that anyone should perish, but that all should come unto repentance. The recognition of volition. God recognizes that he created us, so there's volition. So in the invitation, let's get back to where I was going with this. So when we're teaching, we drive people, and this is what the 6 points, and in every teaching lesson, it's driving people to do something. And so there's an invitation. There is an urging to do something with what it is you've learned. So I went a long way of saying this. If you're teaching someone privately, a non-Christian, you need to have the same thing that this Lord has here, as we see in John 7:37, his invitation. What's the purpose of what you're teaching someone? So you're studying with an individual. Are you just studying so they learn information about the Bible? If that's all there is, they can do that on their own. Why are you studying with the individual? That's the goal. The goal should be to get them to recognize their sinful state and that they need to obey the gospel. Don't forget the first part. Because if I don't know why do I need to obey the gospel? Jesus pointed out, sin separates you from God. We don't like telling people that, but Jesus didn't bite his tongue in telling people sin is your problem. All right, so let's keep that thought in mind. All right, number 3. What 2 identifications were suggested by those who heard Jesus? So those Jews who were there, they heard Jesus, and they gave 2 identifications from the Old Testament. One was, could this be the prophet? Deuteronomy chapter 18, Moses spoke of the prophet that God would raise up from you a prophet like me from among your brethren. And what was the other designation? The Messiah. The Greek would be the Christ, Messiah, the anointed one. And so the Jews were looking for their Messiah, the one who would redeem Israel. So those 2 identifications are significant. Number 4, because of how Jesus spoke, the Jewish leaders dispatched a group of deputies for what purpose? Why did they dispatch the deputies? That's right, to arrest him, or if you want to use the word that Wayne used, to apprehend him. So they dispatched, and these deputies were not Roman guards. These deputies were actual Jewish teachers, people who studied, and they were sent with the purpose of going and getting them. And they didn't go to say, hey, Jesus, if you don't mind, would you come with us, please? No, they were. That was not how they were dispatched. Go arrest them. Number 5, when the guards returned without Jesus, what was their response? And I put there ASV 1901. So, it's in John 7:46. Never man so spake. ASV 1901. Never man so spake. And let's see here. On one of these slides, I gave it, right, Anthony? I gave several translations on one of these slides. Oh, yeah, you guys got the slides there. Okay, like 4 different, yeah, there we go. I don't know what slide number that is, but it's one of those slides. All right. Never man so spake. They heard him, they listened, and they listened carefully. Number 6, how long was the teaching ministry of Jesus? 3.5 years. Page Roman numeral 9. Page X. Roman numeral 9. I-X. Roman numeral 9. 3.5 years. We're pretty sure about that. He lived 33.5 years. Teaching ministry 3.5 years. The temple guard's response lead us to 4 key points. Let's think about these 4 key points. Now, what was the first key point that when we consider their response? They were united in their view of the teacher. It wasn't that one guard said something and the others didn't. They were united in what they said. Number 2, yes, they were correct. To go back to the Jewish leaders and to tell them, or to go back, number 1, empty-handed, and then to go back and say, never man so spake. That took courage on their part. Because, it leads me to the next. I got ready to give it out. Number 3. Yeah, these weren't the 3 stooges. This wasn't Curly, Larry, and Moe. But these were intelligent, but not only were they intelligent, but they were honest people. Yes, they were honest to a fault. Yes. Not only their livelihood, but their very lives. They put, they put their very lives at stake for admitting what they did. And number 4, it was credible because the presumption that they began with was that they began with the point of view that Jesus was already guilty. Go arrest him. Right, they were biased. You don't arrest an innocent person. They had already presumed him to be guilty. All right. Number 8. The word never in the Greek New Testament signifies what? Not ever. Not ever. So when they said that never had a man so spake, they were searching the annals of their mind, everything that they had learned in their synagogue studies and listening to the rabbis, the Pharisees, the Sadducees, and they said, we've never, not ever heard anyone. The word spake is what word is, or rather is, it's what type of word that demonstrates the focus of the officer's fascination upon got ready. I typed my answer in here and I almost gave the answer. All right. The word spake is a word that demonstrates the focus of the officer's fascination was upon what? His words and what else? Yes, I heard somebody just say it over here. His teaching. Yeah, I'm like, okay, I should have put my answers in here in red, and I didn't. I almost read what I wanted. So it's upon his teaching, because that's what Jesus was doing. When they came to the synagogue, Jesus was there teaching. So his words were not just, he wasn't just blabbering stuff, but he was teaching. He was giving God's instruction. That's correct. Very good. That's right, Jerry. Therefore, a very specific reason, not just there talking, to fill the air. Number 10. What is the significance of the use of this term? And it's the term that we just is in the answer that we just gave. So the significance, in essence, what I'm looking for, the significance of the word teaching, what's the significance of that? That they would learn, but well, there's some, one of the things, go open up your book. There's an interesting statement that Wayne writes, page 4. Under spake, yes, Deanna, in that section on page 4, when he talks about this, he says true, and so he says here in the middle. In the second paragraph of spake, he says the Greek term suggests Christ is the representative and expression of what God has to say to the world, in whom and by whom God's mind and purposes toward the world find their expression. In the words of Jesus, in his teaching, it's the only way that the world can really know who God is. The only way that the mind of God can be revealed. That's why Jesus says in John 6:63, the words that I speak unto you, they are spirit and they are life. It is oftentimes interesting that people will say, yeah, I want life. And then we say, well, you need to do what Jesus says. No, I don't want that. I just want life. There is no life without obeying the word of Christ. Or someone will say, I want to know who God is, but I don't have any time for that Jesus stuff. Well, think about what you just said. Yes. And if you, right. Number 11, the last one, then we'll jump into chapter 2. The adverb so stresses the unparalleled quality of Jesus' teaching because of three significant or signified realities. Please list these realities. Number 1. Yeah, but that's not the one I'm looking for. Okay. Yeah, Jesus was the only person to exist prior to his own bodily conception or the incarnation. John 1:1 and 1:14. Jesus, in the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was God. In the beginning was the Word. So the Word existed, the eternal Logos. And then the Word took upon itself flesh and dwelt among men, John 1:14. No one else has ever done that. That's what the incarnation is. It is deity taking on flesh. That is true. That what he knew of the glory that he shared with the Father, John chapter 17. Yep. All right, number 2. Yes, he spoke. His speaking was authoritative. Oh, he most certainly could speak authoritatively because he was there when the world was created. He was the one creating. Yeah. So he could speak when Jesus would tell the Jews before Abraham was, I am. He knew exactly what he was saying. Number 3 then. Yes, with divine wisdom, Jesus exercised tenderness toward the sinful who were wounded and self-inflicted transgressions. Matthew 12 and verse 20. All right. Okay. All right. Yes, sir. That's right. Yeah. Chapter 2. Jesus Christ, fiction or history? So in this chapter, as we talk about Jesus, the master teacher, we are going to look at some we're going to look at some secular sources, but also address a number of passages. And we don't have to be afraid of Jesus as a person, because he is a historical reality. The world, matter of fact, there are people who don't like this. I'm going to write up here on the board and you'll understand. Jesus impacts so much of the world. All right. Now, what's the Latin? Yeah. Is it anno or ana? That's anno, domino. But it means the same thing. But these both refer to history before Christ, after Christ. Yeah, that's a cross. The year of our Lord. Now, the world gets so upset about it that they changed it so that now it's in So in recent writing, you'll see a dating of 1277 BCE, before Common Era, because they want to get rid of Jesus so much, and then it's now after Common Era, because they can't stomach the fact that Jesus is a real person, that history even looks at it from the standpoint of our calendar, and we recognize that Jesus of Nazareth existed. Oh, yeah, I tell you. So, right, but and they still can't. No matter what they try, it doesn't work. All right, let's start. Who wants to pick up on? Wants to read the first one, first paragraph? And I'll, you know me, I will probably jump in at some point with some. I will tell you some things. Yeah, I will tell you some things you need to. Stuff I got highlighted. Yeah, I mean, Harrison is an excellent historian. Biblical Christianity, though, isn't like the religions of the world. And so, and we don't have to run, and we don't have to try to create history to uphold biblical Christianity. Keep going, Sister Crane. Yeah, I would highlight that sentence: the religion of Jesus Christ stands or falls upon the events of history. If Jesus did not exist, Paul says we are of all men most pitiful. Christianity rests or falls upon the reality, on the factuality that Jesus is who the scriptures state him to be. And if John 1 through 3 and 1:14, if that's not true, if Matthew 28 is not true, then what Paul says in 1 Corinthians 15, 1 through 4, here are the facts of the gospel. How that Jesus Christ came, lived, died, was buried, rose according to the scriptures. If those facts are not true, Christianity doesn't exist. Oh, right. What would be the point? That's right. Paul said. That's why Paul said we might as well eat, drink, and be merry and just go ahead and die, because it's all over. All right. Somebody else pick up the second paragraph. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this latter group, this is a U.S. group, and and they'd say, oh, in America, we need to have the Constitution promises us freedom from religion, and they've got, and I think they were founded in San Francisco. They're just a bunch of wackos. I'm sorry for that real technical term. that polysyllabic. I know, that's a really deep word, but they just are bad. And yet they have influenced so many intellectual people. Oh, yeah, that's right. The Constitution, we should be separated from this. Bruno Bauer, and a number of Freud and others were in this group who said that that we created Jesus, that he was an invention of our repressed minds. Freud's whole thrust, but no, that's not true. And there are modern psychologists, there are modern psychiatrists who, and sociologists who buy into this notion as well, even today. People go to school, they still read this kind of stuff. I remember years ago, some of you don't know, Sister Carla, I don't know what Carla's married name now is, Hartsfield, Carla but she was going to Wright State. She had to take a philosophy of religion course, and she came to class one Sunday. We were studying Christian apologetics Sunday at 5 o'clock, and Carla came, and she said, Brother Melson, I've got to take this course at Wright State, philosophy of religion, and it is atrocious. And when she showed me the book, I said, yep, that's it. So I took it in my library. I said, I've got it right there on my shelf. I said, so you come here at 5 o'clock, we'll get you grounded. You'll go there. Now, I guarantee you, you and your professor are going to fight, but you'll get through it. And she got through it, and they did. They fought. They fought every class. Oh yeah, that one too. Yeah, that's I put that one here, according to mankind. All right, he's back there guarding the bell. All right. More careful scholars, however, have been forced, this third paragraph on page 9, more careful scholars, however, have been forced to acknowledge the historicity of the Lord. You should highlight that leading sentence there on page 9. German historian Adolf von Harnack declared that Jesus was so imposing that he was far beyond the power of men to invent, and that those who treat him as a myth are bereft of the capacity to distinguish between fiction and the documentary evidence. And Harrison quoted him on page 3. Joseph Klausner, the famous Jewish scholar of Hebrew University, who did not accept Christ as the Son of God, conceded that Jesus lived and exerted a powerful influence both in the first century and subsequent thereto. How many, as we read this, it reminded me of something. How many of you paid attention to the inauguration of President Trump? At his swearing in, there were, so he had, so there was at the swearing in, so the Jewish, the rabbi who came and who had opening prayer, and he read from Jeremiah. Did you listen to his words carefully? Who did he exclude in all of it? What he said? He never mentioned Jesus. Now, he quoted Jeremiah correctly. Yeah, he quoted Jeremiah. He quoted the prophets. But he was very careful not to mention the Lord. Then Franklin Graham, to his credit, and of course, we're not a fan of Franklin Graham, but I will give Franklin Graham credit. Graham didn't bite his tongue. Oh yeah, And it was like, well, you didn't, I am. Well, yeah, it was kind of like it was definitely in your face with because he was he was very demonstrative with how he said it. And you said straightforward. No, he was demonstrative. And then at the closing benediction, I don't know who the black preacher was, but he was also very demonstrative with respect to Jesus as being a historically real person. So, I'm sorry. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Anthony pressed the button. Okay, where did I leave off at? Where did I leave off at? Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Even some rabid skeptics have had to concede to the solid historical evidence. Entertainer Steve Allen. Now, only some of us will know who Steve Allen is. Yeah. Okay. All right. So, okay. All right. So, who does not know who Steve Allen is? Yeah. Okay. You too. Right. Yeah. Steve Allen. Yeah. Yeah. He's a comedian. Yeah. Tonight Show, fame, and others. So, he wrote some bitter diatribes against them. Yeah. Steve Allen has some books out that. Oh yeah. He did not. He attacked the Bible. Nevertheless, though, he made this confession. Quote, my own belief is that he, meaning Christ, did indeed live in the time of Augustus Caesar. Why? Thank you, Mr. Allen. You know, wow. We appreciate the fact that you're not a historian, but that you're going to acknowledge that he did live when he lived. All right. Mark our spots there because Anthony has pressed the button twice, and I don't want him to hit it a third time. Well, actually, Anthony, let me just finish the last. Several lines of evidence converge to establish the historical reality of the founder of the Christian religion, and these are important. The New Testament documents, ancient Jewish sources, Roman writings, early antagonists of Christianity, the testimony of the patristic writers, the art of the Roman catacombs, and the impact of Christianity in history. And so, the remainder of the chapter, we're going to look at each one of those, and I'll have some slides and some other material regarding that information. Any closing questions? All right. So, there'll be a new slide deck, Lord willing, hopefully by next week. Depends on how things go. We had a situation up here. Did you lose water Monday? So we had a situation up here on Marker, the water main. The street was so we were without water. Everybody in this block was without water. So we had no. They had to repair the street on Monday, so there was no water here Monday. I was going to call you to see if you were, but it was just us up here from Dixie all the way back up to here. All right, let's keep people in prayer. Good to see each of you who are out tonight, and keep reading your book. And you can go ahead and read further and make notes. Good stuff. I appreciate someone's comments in the beginning. The book is designed to have something for everybody. You can be a new convert and get material out of this. You can be a preacher, get material out of this. You can be a college student. There's something in here for you. And again, it's It's well designed, well written, and well assembled. You can put this in your library. You have it for a long period of time. If you're gonna, if you want to pass it on to a child, pass it on to a child. Except except certain people won't pass them on to children. Well, so Jerry's point, why does the reason that yes, we do. So for instance, correct. So this is where I can this is where it is important when you're writing a book that you want people to take stock of, and people are constantly saying, well, that's just your opinion. So he's giving you first what's called primary source material, and somebody who's doing research can go back, oh, that's where he got that from. So the writings of Josephus, they're available in any book. You can get it online. You can go to any bookstore and get them. I have a set in my library. Actually, I have two sets, and so you can find it. And so even if you don't choose to do it, you know where he's gotten it from. It's not his opinion. He's citing his source, and he's giving you the quotation for it. And it's so that's an important component. And it's a way we train people to write. When you write, you have to document your sources. But it's not just, and it's not just for plagiarism's sake. So a good writer doesn't want to be guilty of plagiarism. Christians, we never want to be guilty of plagiarism, but somebody is going to want to look at this and look at it from a critical standpoint, and they're going to go to a critical source and research. I've just finished a manuscript for a lectureship book, and we were required to use MLA 9 writing style, and MLA requires you to cite your works in a particular way. What does MLA stand for? I forgot. It's a writing. Okay. You know what? So it's a style guide for writers. When I wrote for the Dayton Daily News, we had to use Chicago style, and it's a writing guide to how to write. Yeah, what is it? Oh, modern languages. So yeah, so version 9, and so those are writing styles for people who write documents that get published. And if you don't do it,